India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. Rescue efforts underway across storm hit United Arab Emirates and Oman. Government says weather fluctuations are over. At least 20 people dead in Oman, while one death reported from UAE. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says Israel will make its own decisions on responding to Iran as Western countries call for restraint. Jordan says Israeli retaliation would risk a wider regional war. US President calls for steep hike to tariffs on China steel and aluminium. However, and says there would be no trade war with China and that tariffs won't hurt ties with his counterpart. Polling booths set up, security bolstered as high-octane India's general elections set to begin on Friday. Election Commission of India to issue notification for the fourth phase today. Well, let's now get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. Well, India is set to vote in the world's largest general election, setting the stage for a mammoth exercise in democracy with nearly 1 billion people eligible to head to the polls across just over 6 weeks. Polling for the first phase will take place tomorrow, that is 19th of April. Voting stations have been set up with training given to officials to ensure a seamless voting experience. Security personnel have also been stationed in all locations for foolproof safety. The 7-phase elections conclude on June 1st, while the counting of the votes will take place on the 4th of June. Also, to ensure public safety and the conduct of free and fair elections, especially at vulnerable and critical polling stations in Manipur, security personnel conducted a flag march in the state, which is set to undergo polling in the first phase of the Lok Sabha election scheduled for April 19th. 3 layers of security involving the Army, CRPF and state police have been established to secure all the peripheral areas. Well, the notification for the 4th phase of Lok Sabha elections will be issued today. 96 Lok Sabha seats spread over 9 states and a union territory will go to polls in this phase on the 13th of May. Simultaneously, notification will also be issued for single-phase assembly elections in Andhra Pradesh for 175 seats in the first phase of assembly polls in Odisha for 28 constituencies. The filing of nominations will end on Friday for the 3rd phase of Lok Sabha polls. 94 parliamentary seats in 10 states and 2 union territories will go to polls in this phase on the 7th of May. Well, 2024 is the year of democracy. During the past 75 years, the election process in India has evolved a lot. From ballot boxes to electronic voting machines, the Indian democracy keeps evolving. How the electorate has changed over the years, DD India takes a closer look.
The first phase of polling will see 102 seats with 1,658 candidates in the fray. There are 969 million voters on the electoral rolls for the 2024 general elections across all phases. There has been a 6.25% increase in the number of voters since 2019, which stood at 912 million. How has the electorate changed over the years? Let's take a look at the demographics of the electors. Share of voters in total population is the highest in 2024. Voter population ratio varies across states. Lowest gender imbalance in the electorate. Higher share of first-time voters. The share of voters in the total population will be the highest in 2024. Elections over the years from 1951 to 2024 have shown that the electors as a percentage of the total population is rising from less than 50% in 1951 to 67% in 2024. The difference in the demographic profile of states shows a disparity in the voter population ratio. There are large variations. How has this changed over time? The numbers have increased, but in different magnitude. Undivided Andhra Pradesh showed a maximum increase of 16.5 percentage points, followed by West Bengal and Karnataka. Bihar has seen the lowest increase at 2.1 percentage points, followed by Punjab 3.9% and Rajasthan with 4.5 percentage points. The 2024 elections will see the least gender imbalance in the electorate. It was 910 in 1971. It went lower to 902 in 1991-92. In the 2019 elections, the gender imbalance was at 926, while in this election, it's at 948. Finally, the share of first-time voters is higher than what it was in 2019, but it is not the highest in India. There are 1.9% first-time voters in India, which when translated into numbers is 18.2 million first-time voters. The highest number of first-time voters was in 2014 at 2.75%. The percentage of first-time voters is the highest in Jharkhand at 3%, followed by Rajasthan with 2.9% and Madhya Pradesh with 2.8%. The lowest first-time voters are in Kerala and Maharashtra with 1%. This election could see many news. How the Indian voters adapt to changing times and challenges will be tested as India decides in 2024. Anil Thomas's report for DD India.
Well, for more on elections, we are now joined by Anbarasan from Chennai and Aditya from Bhopal. Well, good morning, Anbarasan. A one-day poll tomorrow, a big day. Can you tell us about the arrangements done for this day?
As Tamil Nadu is going for poll on the first phase itself on tomorrow, the morning 8 a.m. onwards, the polling started in across all the 39 constituencies, including the Puducherry. This election, right, very important after 2014-19 and the triangular fight, very important for all the parties. The Chief Election Commissioner of Tamil Nadu has said that all the preparation, particularly due to the summer of this season, all the water arrangement and various arrangement has been made to the voters to reach the polling booth, and also all the security arrangements are already done, and the particular booths which has been very issues previously recorded has been recorded this time also, and they given the more security, and also the CSSF, all the national security forces are in full arrangements to get the election fair and freely. And this election, right, all the ADMK, DMK and BJP, all three alliances are going to contest in a triangular fight. So very much important for all the three alliances to get more vote. And so we can see that this election before normal than different. And also the Election Commission of India has conducted a very populous voter awareness schemes across Tamil Nadu to get 100% vote this time. Previously recorded 75%, and this time is estimated to get more on that. So we need to see on tomorrow from 8 a.m. onwards. still, and also the chief election commissioner has said that when the people reach the booth, if it's the polling is already done the evening, if they given the token to the voters till the voters all the voters are voted in the booth, then only the voting process will be entered in the particular booths. So to make sure that 100% voting has been done, all the 80 plus above voters are already being given the ballot votes on the already they've been recorded and they already sent to the various booths. So we can estimate this election going to be a full 100% more our election commissioners going to achieve that. We need to see tomorrow. Back to you.
All right. Okay, my second question to you, Aditya. The first phase of elections begin there tomorrow. What arrangements have been made for the day?
See, Lipakshi, as we know that in Madhya Pradesh there are 29 constituency seats. Out of 29, voting will be held on tomorrow, and 6 parliamentary constituency parliamentary seats in Madhya Pradesh. Voting will be start from 7 onwards till 6 p.m. Election Commission said the Election Commission is now prepared for this voting, especially in the Naxal affected area of Balaghat, Paraswara, Lanchi. At these places, voting will be start at 7 a.m. onwards and till 4 p.m. So, Election Commission made huge preparations for voters also, for the young voters, for old age voters. All polling station, Election Commission gave a facility of ramp, of the wheelchair, for drinking water, for shades, for all security arrangements. Especially in Madhya Pradesh, more than 16 lakh 50,000 voters are first-time voters. That they are around 18 to 19 years old. They are very excited. Women voters are very excited because, as we know, that more than 49% voters are in Madhya Pradesh is women. So they are very excited to cast their vote. Main, competition main. Both parties are in opposite BJP and Congress. All are doing all efforts to reach the voter, to put their issues to the voters. So we can say Election Commission also prepare for this voting. Political parties are also prepared for this phase.
All right. We also have Siddharth joining us from Haridwar for the Uttarakhand elections tomorrow. Siddharth, one-day poll tomorrow in Uttarakhand. Also, election campaign has ended. Can you brace us with the arrangements there?
Well, a very good morning to you, Ripakshi. In Uttarakhand, the polls will be conducted on April 19, and that too in single phase. Right now I'm here in Haridwar. It's one of the most important constituencies here in Uttarakhand. And also regarding the arrangements, arrangements have been made. The security has been tightened from yesterday. The campaigning has been completely stopped. No form of campaigning is allowed. As the state will go to polls on April 19, the security arrangements are tight. There are security arrangements, like I said, are tight, and there are police barricades and intense checks which are happening for the vehicles which are coming inside, the city, especially the outside number plates are being checked thoroughly, the vehicles, and all in all, the security arrangements are very, very tight. Like I said, any form of campaigning is not allowed, and as far as this constituency is concerned, then there is a stronghold of two political parties, which is the BJP and the Congress. And from the BJP, Trivendra Singh Rawat is contesting the elections, and from the Congress, it's Harish Rawat Singh, Virendra Rawat, who is contesting the elections. So there would be a fierce battle between both these political parties, and as far as the issues are concerned, I've had a word with the local residents. They are saying that they are liking the work which the current government is doing, but they want more from these elections. They have aspirations, they have new hopes, and they have become more aware now, which they was telling to me that they will vote for development. Social media is also playing a pivotal role in making the voters aware, and also some campaigns by the Election Commission of India and also some youth organizations are also playing some pivotal role in making the voters aware, as they are very excited now to go to polls and to cast their ballot on April 19 when the state of Uttarakhand will go to polls. Back to you, Lipakshi.
All right, thank you so much, Siddharth, Anbarasan and Aditya, for that information from various states. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Hezbollah launches missiles and drones at northern Israel, wounding 14 Israeli soldiers. Israeli Air Force fighter jets strike Hezbollah infrastructure in eastern Lebanon's Baalbek. G7 foreign ministers meeting kicks off on the island of Capri in Italy, with potential fresh sanctions against Iran on the table.
Will the Israel-Iran conflict blow up into a full-blown war in West Asia or the Middle East? Who killed the world's largest anaconda barely days after it was first discovered? Watch Connecting the Dots every Friday at 8 p.m. IST or 14:30 GMT on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, heavy storm that lashed the United Arab Emirates has dumped over a year and a half's worth of rain on the desert city state of Dubai in the span of hours. At least 20 people have died in the deluge in neighboring country Oman. The government of UAE has announced the conclusion of the recent weather fluctuations in Dubai as downpour has stopped and weather conditions are steadily improving. The Ministry of Interior commended the efforts of field authorities to continue working tirelessly until a full recovery is achieved. The focus is on managing traffic flow and clearing rainwater to restore normal life across all public facilities. All right, we'll give you more live updates on the floods in Dubai a little later from now. Right now, shifting focus as unrest in West Asia escalates after Iran's retaliatory attack on Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Wednesday that Israel will make its own decisions about how to defend itself. While Western countries have pleaded for restraint responding to a volley of attacks from Iran, Iran attacked in retaliation for a suspected Israeli airstrike on its embassy compound in Damascus on the 1st of April. Israel and its allies mostly shot down all missiles and drones, and there were no deaths. But Israel says it must retaliate to preserve the credibility of its deterrence. Iran says it views the matter as closed, but will retaliate again if Israel does.
I am coming now from meetings with the foreign ministers of Great Britain and Germany. Last night I spoke to British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, and soon I will also speak to other leaders. I thank our friends for their support in the defense of Israel, and I say this both support in words and support in actions. They also have all kinds of suggestions and advice. I appreciate it, but I also want to make it clear. We will make our own decisions, and the state of Israel will do everything necessary to defend itself.
Meanwhile, West is in action to defuse the escalation ongoing in West Asia. European Union leaders have decided on Wednesday to step up sanctions against Tehran. The European Union leaders met at a summit in Brussels. That is the first meeting of the EU's 27 national leaders since the attack on Saturday.
We condemn this attack launched by Iran against Israel. We have decided to put in place sanctions against Iran. This is a clear signal that we want to send. And we also want to do everything to protect the civilians. Each civilian life matters. We call on the release without any conditions of all hostages. We call a ceasefire, an immediate ceasefire.
Varies condemning Tehran's attack against Israel. Belgium has also shown its support in favor of imposing sanctions against Iran.
These attacks are unacceptable. What has happened. We're also looking into sanctions. My position is that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard should be put on a sanction list, and I would be interested to see what the position is of other countries on that topic.
While German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has said that it was important that Israel does not respond with a massive attack of its own.
One thing is very clear, we have already taken many steps to sanction Iran. It will have to be discussed again and again what further steps are possible. It is also clear that these are processes that need to be closely monitored. There is already a list of sanctions imposed by these powers, and it is now a question of whether we can take a further step, a three-pronged approach, so to speak, although this is tied to legal procedures that the Commission's legal service is now dealing with.
Well, Jordan has also expressed their concern towards the conflict in the region. Jordan's Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi warns that Israeli retaliation against Iranian strikes could bring a real risk of dragging the whole region into a devastating conflict. Safadi said his country was lobbying major powers against an escalation that would have far-reaching consequences for regional stability and security. Staunch U.S. ally Jordan, with the help of American air defenses and support from the UK and France, shot down most of the Iranian drones and missiles that were flying over the country towards Jerusalem and a wide range of targets in Israel. Well, Israel-Lebanon border also experienced tension on Wednesday after Hezbollah launched missiles and drones at northern Israel, wounding 14 Israeli soldiers. Plumes of smoke drifted around the border, while in a counter-attack, Israeli fighter jets struck Hezbollah infrastructure north of Baalbek in eastern Lebanon amid concerns that increased exchanges of fire between Israel and Hezbollah could fuel further escalation. Well, with West Asia spiraling into possible threat of wider conflict, Western leaders are looking forward to impose sanctions on Iran to de-escalate the tensions. Our correspondent Sarah Coates tells us more.
Of course, of great international concern, given that some 1.5 million internally displaced Palestinians are sheltering there. And it's, of course, an area that Israel had previously declared as a safe zone. Now, we do understand that the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, he's actually given the okay for these operational plans. No date set yet as to when this would happen. We do know, of course, though, that given this Iranian threat that took place a few days ago and then the subsequent attack, that this potential incursion into Rafah has now been put on the back burner. But in terms of a wider escalation, this is certainly why we are seeing these foreign diplomats here today, the German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock and also the British Foreign Secretary Lord Cameron. They are really trying to bring tensions down, trying to prevent any further regional escalation, which of course could draw these key allies in. And this is why we're seeing the timing potentially of these sanctions that we are expecting to be put on Iran announced, because certainly if these sanctions are deemed great enough to strangle Iran's capabilities when it comes to missiles, when it comes to drones, then this could potentially be enough to pull Israel back and sort of limit its response. So really what we are looking at over the next few days is, of course, this Israeli response, and all of that will be dependent on where we go from there.
While G7 foreign ministers have commenced discussions on Capri Island in Italy considering fresh sanctions against Iran. The agenda also includes encouraging Israel and Iran to reduce tension and enhancing assistance to Ukraine. DD India's correspondent Giles Gibson provides us updates from Capri.
We've had helicopters buzzing overhead and security personnel patrolling the roof of that hotel just behind me where these G7 foreign ministers' talks are taking place. The Italian presidency are saying that there will be some discussions about what they describe as stability in the Indo-Pacific region, but really the situation in the Middle East is set to dominate the agenda of these talks. So the first session of the talks, just after the foreign ministers arrived on the island, were on the rising tensions between Iran and Israel, as well as the ongoing conflict in Gaza. And there is also this growing push, especially led by the US and the UK, for there to be sanctions introduced against Iran in response to their missile and drone strikes on Israeli territory over the course of the weekend. Then on Thursday, we will see the focus shifting to discussions around protecting global shipping routes in the Red Sea, and then moving on to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine with the NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, as well as Ukraine's top diplomat Dmytro Kuleba, joining the G7 foreign ministers here on Capri, with Kuleba in particular expected to issue yet another call for help for assistance in boosting Ukraine's air defences. We're also going to see some very in-depth technical discussions around how the G7 could potentially leverage $300 billion of frozen Russian assets in the West to help Ukraine in its war effort against Russia, with European nations pushing for only the profits from those assets to be used to be handed over to the Ukrainians. A final decision not expected to be taken here by the foreign ministers in Capri, but rather by the leaders of the G7, the presidents and prime ministers, when they come to Italy for their leaders summit, which is taking place in June. Really a packed agenda for the G7 foreign ministers in terms of those ongoing conflicts around the world, but we are also being told by the Italian Foreign Ministry that there will be discussions about wider issues such as engagement with the continent of Africa, as well as how the world can govern in a better way the growing technology of artificial intelligence. Giles Gibson on the island of Capri, reporting for DD India.
And for more on Dubai floods, we are now joined by our correspondent Vinod from there. Well, Vinod, can you give us an update as to how is the situation there now and how such torrential rains were caused?
Hi, Lipakshi. The rainfall in Dubai has started on Monday and it attained its peak on Tuesday. And currently, the rains have subsided yesterday morning itself. The rescue and relief operations are currently going on. The airports of Abu Dhabi, Sharjah and Dubai have started functioning again. The metro lines have started functioning again. Some access roads to the airport and some access roads to the main intercity connections are still to be operational fully. And we are seeing rescue and relief operations. The Ministry of Interior in the government of UAE has made a statement that the weather disturbances have completely subsided and the relief operations is on full swing. To speak about how this torrential rainfall has caused, these ferocious rains that impacted the country were the results of a warm and humid air mass from the Arabian Sea colliding with the cold air mass from the northeast. Many portals report that the rainfalls were the result of the cloud seeding operations by UAE, but that is factually incorrect and that is misleading. The rainfall was caused in the entire Arabian Peninsula, not only in UAE. Even Oman suffered. Rainfalls are there in Bahrain and Qatar as well. In Oman, in fact, 19 people have lost its life. So it was more extreme in the case of Oman. Basically, the warm, moist air from the Arabian Sea moving towards the north hit the cold air mass which is coming from the polar region above the Arabian Peninsula. So as you know that for the rain to cause, this warm air mass have to go up. So this cold air mass which was descending from this European and the polar regions gave a platform for this warm air mass to rise, and this torrential rainfall has been caused. And there has been also concerns that global warming has one of the reasons of this kind of rainfall, but it is not exactly we are not exactly able to quantify how much of a role of climate change have played. This requires a full scientific analysis in the coming months. But to put it simply, warmer air can hold more moisture. Because of global warming and climate change, the air is getting hotter, the entire sea temperature is getting hotter, so it can hold more moisture. Approximately 7% of more moisture can be held by this warmer air. That is one of the results of global climate change. And it's a bit ironic that the place which held COP28 last month received such a torrential rainfall and had to bear the impact of this climate change.
Right. Thank you so much, Vinod, for that update from Dubai itself. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Death toll rises in the deadliest airstrike by Russia and the Ukraine's Chernihiv in weeks. Indian expats in London have mixed reaction over world's biggest elections beginning in India from tomorrow. And in the US, over 1 million Indian workers face visa backlog leading to bureaucratic delays.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political, and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Rescue efforts underway across storm-hit United Arab Emirates and Oman. Government says weather fluctuations are over. At least 20 people dead in Oman, while one death reported from UAE. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says Israel will make its own decisions on responding to Iran as Western countries call for restraint. Jordan says Israeli retaliation would risk a wider regional war. US President calls for steep hike to tariffs on China steel and aluminium. However, it says there would be no trade war with China and that tariffs won't hurt ties with his counterpart. And polling booths set up, security bolstered as high-octane India's general election set to begin on Friday. Election Commission of India to issue notification for the fourth phase today. Well, as the start date for India's election approaches, more than 960 million people are registered to vote. Millions of potential voters are living overseas, but not all of them are able to travel back to make their voices heard. DD India correspondent Julia Chapman has been speaking to Indian expats in London about what the elections mean to them.
There are 13 million Indian citizens living abroad. But to cast their ballots in the upcoming general elections, they have to make the long journey home. Dhananjay Thackeray is a master's student at the London School of Economics. He plans to travel back to India because he says every vote counts.
Elections in India is not only important for Indians, it is also important for the rest of the world also. So that's why this is the first thing. Secondly, people in India, they think that voting is only for those who have interest in the politics, but it's not like that. Like I have seen that it's like we have day-to-day things which is dependent on the politics and political matters.
Thackeray is so passionate about voting, he's planning to help spread awareness about elections in rural communities of India. But not everyone is in a position to fly to India for the elections. While students may have the time to travel home to vote, expats in full-time work struggle to make that happen.
Unfortunately, like we do a job, right? And we have to handle clients. And the Indian holidays and the UK holidays, they do not match up, right? I do have a family here, and I have a kid who goes to school. So because of these constraints, unfortunately, it's not possible to travel to India just for vote.
In India, postal voting is only an option for electoral workers and serving members of the army.
There are more than 350,000 Indian citizens living in the UK, according to the latest available data. Most of them are working or studying here. Even without their votes, the Indian elections will be the world's largest democratic exercise.
That's why some Indians abroad will go to great lengths to take part.
Wherever in the world I will be, but yes, I will do care about my country, and wherever I work, I will work for my country. So that's important for me to vote.
Flying to India also comes with a high price tag, but many registered voters say it's a price worth paying for democracy. Julia Chapman in London, reporting for DD India.
And moving on, the Speaker of the US House's job is under threat, with hard-right Republicans saying they will move to oust Mike Johnson if he goes ahead with plans to put a foreign policy bill to the vote. He said he's not going to resign and the moves to push him out are absurd. DDN's correspondent Caroline Malone reports from Washington.
House Speaker Mike Johnson has a plan to get foreign aid passed in the lower chamber. He's put forward 5 bills on Ukraine, Israel, for Indo-Pacific allies, another from the Republican Party's desired foreign policy priorities, and the last on boosting security at the southern US border. That's already been highly controversial and part of the reason that they've been unable to pass foreign aid packages so far, despite President Joe Biden asking for it months ago. The issue has become so controversial, in fact, that Johnson's job is under threat. Members of the far-right Freedom House caucus say that he is surrendering the border and that it shows that he and allies care more about funding Ukraine than they do about securing their own borders. Well, voting on it could happen this week, at which point Johnson, like his predecessor Kevin McCarthy, is at risk of being voted out. Some representatives say that despite talks, it's become clear that a motion to vacate him will be brought if the Speaker plans proceed. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie, 2 Republicans, are supporting a motion to remove Johnson from the speakership, and that could happen within 2 days of them bringing it to the floor. Caroline Malone in Washington for DD India.
While the Netherlands handed over another 3 F-16 fighter jets to a training facility in Romania on Wednesday. Ukrainian pilots and ground staff are being taught to fly and maintain the planes in battle. The Netherlands has been one of the driving forces behind an international coalition to supply Ukraine with F-16s to strengthen its air defense against the Russian offensive. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the planes would strengthen Ukraine's air defenses and help its counter-offensive against Russian forces. While Russian President Vladimir Putin last month said the F-16s would not change the situation on the battlefield and would be shot down by Russian forces. And in the deadliest airstrikes in weeks, 3 Russian missiles slammed into the center of Chernihiv, a city in northern Ukraine near the Russian border. The attack left at least 17 people dead and more than 12 others wounded. It also damaged several multi-story residential buildings, a hospital and educational facility, and dozens of private cars. Ukraine is facing an acute shortage of ammunition, including air defense systems and missiles, with vital funding from the US blocked by Republicans in Congress for months and the EU failing to deliver munitions on time. While NATO's multinational exercise dubbed Sea Shield 24 is underway at the Romanian Black Sea coast. The exercise involves 16 allied and partner countries. The goal is to boost coordination for military naval operations and regain control over important sea lines of communication. The exercise aims to improve how these units work together effectively in both planning and execution, ultimately strengthening collective defense efforts. And Poland's President Andrzej Duda met former U.S. President Donald Trump in New York on Wednesday. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump hosted Duda at the Trump Tower. Trump said that the pair had 4 great years together and that they may have to do it again. Nationalist Duda, whose term in office expires in 2025, was one of Trump's preferred international partners during his presidency. Trump has in recent weeks met Hungarian President Viktor Orban and British Foreign Secretary David Cameron as U.S. inches closer to the elections. Well, much debated abortion ban in Arizona failed to get the Republican support they needed against the Civil War era measure poised to become state law once again. Democrats in the Arizona House of Representatives tried repeatedly to repeal an 1864 ban on abortion on Wednesday. In 4 votes, the chamber deadlocked 30-30 on a procedural motion that would have allowed a repeal bill to come to the floor, with 1 Republican joining the 29 Democrats. Democratic leaders later told reporters they did not anticipate another vote on Wednesday, but would try sessions again. Opposing is seen as sacrosanct to many Republican voters, and crossing party lines on such a touchstone issue would be rare in highly partisan times. But repealing the 1864 law would still leave in place a law passed by Republicans in 2022 that bans abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy. And some Republicans have softened their hardline stance on abortion, mindful of the same polling that has emboldened Democrats. While Boeing's safety culture and manufacturing quality, both at the center of a full-blown crisis following a January mid-air panel blowout, faced scrutiny on Wednesday in 2 U.S. Senate hearings. Boeing has been grappling with a safety crisis after the door plug panel blew off an Alaska Airlines flight that took off from Portland in Oregon on January 5th. The plane maker has undergone a management shakeup. U.S. regulators have put curbs on its production, and deliveries fell by half in March. Testimony at the U.S. Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigation raised questions about missing records surrounding the panel, along with production concerns over 2 separate Boeing wide-body jets. Well, it's taking longer and longer for Indian nationals to get U.S. work visas. New analysis showed that more than 1 million Indians are stuck in a bureaucratic backlog due to low annual quotas. And as DD India's Tony Waterman explains, some face a decades-long wait for approval.
It is the ultimate sense of uncertainty, not knowing if or when your work visa will get approved. And that is the current reality for more than 1.2 million Indians, including dependents who are seeking to gain permanent residency in the United States through a green card. These are highly skilled individuals in the top 3 employment-based immigration categories. And according to an analysis by the National Federation for American Policy, this includes nearly 500,000 people with advanced degrees, with exceptional ability in the arts, sciences, and business, including researchers and multinational executives. For some green card categories, the wait time has gone up by 40% in the past 3 years. The problem can be traced back to 1990, when U.S. lawmakers set annual quotas on employment-based green cards. The limit is 140,000 per year, including dependents, and every country is entitled to just 7% of that quota, regardless of size or demand. So for India, with the world's largest population, the annual allotment is tiny and the applications keep piling up.
If nothing is changed, the Congressional Research Service says that by 2030, it will take 195 years to clear the backlog. Now, the issue was discussed when Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the White House last June. Both he and President Biden acknowledged how important this movement of people is and noted the need to expedite the process. For India, this is about getting its highly skilled workforce out into the world. And for the U.S., it's about attracting and retaining talent to maintain a competitive advantage. Tony Waterman in Austin, Texas, reporting for DD India.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Peru transformed a medal of thousands of seized weapons into a public park to bring a new focus to the fight against insecurity in the Andean country. The makers melted more than 6,000 weapons to create park equipments. Children and adults enjoyed in the San Juan Day, one of the areas most affected by violence in the province of Lima. 6 people were arrested and 3 more are being sought in Canada's largest gold heist. Canadian and U.S. authorities said on Wednesday that they had seized a cargo of over $16 million in gold and currency. The suspects forged an airway bill to steal a cargo from Switzerland of 6,600 gold bars and $1.8 million in foreign currency. A 202 million years fossil of a marine reptile found in England, the sculpture appears to be the largest animal ever on Earth. Researchers claim the bone to be 72 to 85 feet long, the largest known marine reptile, and would rival some of the largest baleen whales alive today. Elephant wanders the streets of Montana after escaping from the circus. The elephant escaped a traveling circus and visited town after being scared by a passing vehicle. Authorities confirmed the elephant returned to the center without harm. Animal rights activists expressed concern following the failure to protect the elephant and the public. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Finance chiefs of US, South Korea, Japan hold a trilateral meeting in wake of yen's slide to 34 years low. After clinching a historic bronze medal at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, Indian team now sets its sight on the ultimate prize, gold. And we also tell you what to look out for in the UEFA Europa League quarter-final second legs.
Will the Israel-Iran conflict blow up into a full-blown war in West Asia or the Middle East? Who killed the world's largest anaconda barely days after it was first discovered? Watch Connecting the Dots every Friday at 8 p.m. IST or 14:30 GMT on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana and you're time now for some business news. U.S. President Joe Biden on Wednesday called for higher tariffs on Chinese steel and aluminium while addressing steel workers at the United Steelworkers headquarters in Pittsburgh. Biden said that China was cheating in its steel trade practices and that U.S. is investigating the Chinese government's practices tied to the trade of steel and aluminium. Biden pledged that U.S. Steel would remain a totally American company.
I promise you, and I'm not going to let that happen again. Look, right now, my U.S. Trade Representative is investigating trade practices by the Chinese government regarding steel and aluminum. If that investigation confirms these anti-competitive trade practices, then I'm calling on her to consider tripling the tariff rates for both steel imports and aluminum imports from China.
Well, finance chiefs of the United States, South Korea and Japan on Wednesday acknowledged concerns regarding recent declines of the Korean won and the Japanese yen. Agreeing to work closely on forex market developments, the leaders held their first trilateral meeting in Washington, D.C. The rare warning from the 3 countries' finance chiefs came as receding expectations of a near-term U.S. interest rate cut pushed the yen to 34 years lows. The development is keeping markets on alert on the chance of an intervention by Japan to pop up the currency. Meanwhile, the U.S. stocks fell in choppy trading on Wednesday as investors assess the Federal Reserve's interest rate stance and a batch of soft earnings early in the financial reporting season. The S&P 500 lost 0.58%, while the Nasdaq Composite lost 1.15%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 0.12%. The four-session S&P 500 sell-off is the longest in just over 4 months, matching a 4-day run of declines ended on June 4th. The Fed's Beige Book survey of economic activity showed a slight expansion from late February through early April, and companies feared that progress in lowering inflation would stall. Well, in Asia, stocks crept higher in a mixed session on Thursday. The yen traded at 154.22 per dollar, close to a 3-decade low, and traders are eyeing a breach of 155 as a possible trigger for intervention. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan rose 0.4%, but regional moves were uneven, with gains in South Korea and Australia, but falls elsewhere. Japan's Nikkei fell 0.4%, and with a drop of 4.3% so far, this week is eyeing its largest weekly loss since December 2022. Well, in sports, former steeplechase world champion Nora Girotto faces a doping case hearing in June, just 5 weeks before the Paris Olympic Open. The Court of Arbitration for Sports said on Wednesday it will hear an appeal by World Athletics on June 17th. The appeal will be against a ruling last year that cleared the 2022 world champion of suspected blood doping. Girotto became an African champion while representing Kenya and won on the top-tier Diamond League circuit in 2021. An urgent CAS verdict is likely before the women's steeplechase is raced at the Paris Olympics on August 6 to 8 at Stade de France. In IPL, Punjab Kings will take on Mumbai Indians in the 33rd match of the Indian Premier League 2024 in Mohali today. Both teams are currently sitting at the bottom half of the points table and will be looking forward to improving their rankings. Punjab Kings have shown improvements in their bowling department in recent games, but their batting remains a major concern. Meanwhile, Mumbai Indians faced a setback despite Rohit Sharma's remarkable century in their recent encounter against Chennai Super Kings. A victory in the upcoming match would not only uplift Mumbai's spirits but also propel them past Punjab to claim the 7th position on the points table. And Bayer Leverkusen have been preparing ahead of the Europa League quarter-final second leg against West Ham on Friday. The freshly crowned German champions will travel to London for Thursday night's clash full of confidence following their 5-0 thrashing of Wolfsburg at the weekend. The win secured their first ever Bundesliga title and ended beyond Munich's 11-year reign. Xabi Alonso's side will also take a 2-goal advantage into the return leg, having beaten the Hammers 2-0 on home soil. Leverkusen are currently on a 43-match unbeaten run across all competitions and have extended the longest unbeaten streak in a single Bundesliga season to 29 matches. Well, with just 100 days remaining until the start of their journey at the Paris Olympics, the Indian men's hockey team is poised for an exhilarating quest. After clinching a historic bronze medal at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, the Indian team now sets its sight on the ultimate gold prize. The Indian men's hockey team will begin their campaign on the 27th of July against New Zealand. They will play their last group stage game against the mighty Australians on the 2nd of August. And with the focus here in India remains on the world's largest election mobilization of man and material, Election Commission of India has urged citizens to join in celebrating Chunav Ka Parv, or the festival of elections, where every vote counts.
I would like to appeal to the voters that elections belong to you. We are handing over the baton to you. Please come and vote. हमें विश्वास है कि यूथ न सिर्फ वोट करेंगे बल्कि हमारे एम्बेसडर्स भी बनेंगे। The entire team in the ECI is ready to ink the voters. Please join us.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.